All right, so I know many people have kind of realized that this tier list has not been updating, right? The JJK tier list on the website has not been updating. Now, what I'm here to say, thankfully, is that over the past month, I, alongside others, have been making the tier list, but for now it's only going to be an image format, and you can find it on the wiki Discord down below. We put a lot of time into this. I mean, there was a lot of discussion, and I mean, it has been for the better part of a month that this discussion has been going on. So we're going to go through the full tier list that's updated, and we have the graphic ready. So basically, we have three different roles: damage for the most damage dealt, most DPS, all that good stuff. And some DPSs are basically counted into that, but it's mainly a case-by-case basis. So like, some people who are sub DPS might be considered main DPS, so on and so forth. But the dual DPS team comp is considered, but it's not going to be like a separate tier list. Then support, it's basically going to be about damage increase. Okay, that's the main thing. Support in this case is mainly damage increase, where specialist is everything else. So it's going to be basically healing, okay, just overall survivability. But specialist can also take into account damage potential. Okay, that's the thing. For support and specialist, ability to deal damage may affect ranking. That's very important. So keep that in mind. Now, tier 0 is basically the best for most content, but we're basically counting primarily floor 61 to 80, right? I just want to make sure that's clear. 61 to 80 is the main part that's counted. Now, tier 0.5 is just you're in between tier 1 and 0, right? You're not able to reach tier 0, but you're clearly better than those in tier 1, right? It's basically an arbitrary ranking if we're being real, but it does work, right? So keep that in mind. And overall, it's all things that we've experienced. So I'd say that almost everyone besides Switty, I don't know actually if Switty has done the recent tower floors. The rest have all tried the new tower floors and have done, also I'm hiding Ace, but Ace 2, have all basically done a lot of the tower floors and have watched a lot of content revolving it. So this is now false and just wrong, right? This is the new tier list. Now let's get to breaking it down, okay? Let me move my camera since I'm in a really bad spot. We'll put it up here. Right here. Nah, here's good. Here's good. Okay, we'll do this. We'll do this, yeah. So, all right. Now, let's get started. I'm going to go one by one and really break down in rows. So yeah, let's just kind of hop into this. Now, this is the June 2025 tier list. We're probably going to update this pretty regularly. So tier 0, Sukuna and Gojo are definitely the best, right? They are in the same tier by far. Okay. No one competes. Gojo has the most consistent damage in the game, literally doing 1 to maybe 6 million damage in a turn. Pretty much every turn besides ult, he's doing between 1 to 2 million. And when he is ulting, he's doing 6 to 8 million. Unless you have a full nuking support. But in the new floors, that's how much he's doing every turn, right? It's very good. He has his counters, right? And overall, there's nothing wrong with him. And Sukuna has amazing AoE damage. Now for tier 0.5, I'm honestly very happy with this. So Domain Gojo is still doing phenomenal damage. And there's no one else you could really complain about, right? Nobara does as much, if not more damage than Yuta. This, for some reason, Yuji's still holding through. It's kind of crazy to think about. But his damage is really good, mainly because he's doing damage not just in like one chunk. So keep that in mind. Muta is still amazing. Yuji, absolutely amazing. And why Yuji's good also is because of the fact that he can basically the black flash damage, right? That's the main thing. Black flash damage technically goes through and doesn't really count for buffs or debuffs, so it's not really affected to my understanding. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Toji's still very good, so I would say that between the three red DPSs, the main ones, so I would say like Nobara, Yuta, and Toji are the three highest damage dealing. Toji's the worst, but he's still very good, right? There's only one floor he won't work on, which is floor 80. Now, these are the only two yellows that really work. Zonji is very good. However, Tinjo has not really lost his charm. And no, this is not an order of ranking. To my understanding, it shouldn't be. Not that I know. Because if it was, then it'd be like Nobara, Zonji, probably like Yuta, and Tinjo on the top. But it's not. So I think we're fine. I think we're fine. But yeah, this is pretty much as accurate it's going to get, because if you go to tier 1, none of these units could go in tier 0.5. So if you really look at it, no matter who I look at, none of them do as much consistent and just as much damage in general, right? So Saki's damage actually is really good. In general, when I use her, she does about a fourth of the team's damage, which is really fucking good, right? Like that's around 13 mil per game, right? Now Maki is unfortunately not that good in tier 1 even, but still decent. Now same thing with Ghetto. Like Ghetto and Saki in total between the two of them could do about maybe half of the team damage, which is very good. Now Nanami may be a little high, however, he has the advantage of being able to use Shoko and Yellow Yaga and Degumi. So overall, he is a very fortunate character. And when he's type advantage, right, he's still going to be very good, and he technically always is. But when he hits normally, right, one thing with now the fact he can only work on yellow is that we could talk about his yellow advantages. And like if he hits with his skill 1 or 2, even if it's not really type advantage, he's still gonna get the ult gauge one time per turn no matter what, so keep that in mind. Then Gojo still works, but I would say he's maybe more closer to tier 2. Tier 1 is still very high if we're being real, so keep that in mind. Nobara Megumi, very good all around, work very well as a combo on some floors. Inumaki, very good damage and consistent damage. Nobara too, and then Hollow Purple, it's really more so as a sub DPS that he works well, and I'm really like Gojo might need to move down to tier 2, like just looking at this, but besides that I'm very happy. Saki is maybe the only one who could have went to 0.5, but that might have been a bit of a stretch, right? It's just there's very varying ranges in the tier 1 right now. Then tier 2. So Ino unfortunately just did not live up to it. Same with Mei. So we're basically 1 out of 3 for good Shibuya units, and even that's a stretch when Moot is on the lower side of the green DPSs. So it's very unfortunate, but Ino just did not hit the ball. Like he's just not that good. He's not that good. His damage per turn, especially now when he doesn't have access to the buffs, it is not that good. Maki is decent. All right, she's okay. Mekamaru is mainly there for his counters and taunts, but his damage is good enough to be counted. Now, Mei, it's not working that too well out for her, but I would say tier 2 is a little low. I didn't really see that, but I feel like tier 1 would make a little more sense. It's just a bit hard to rank these, right? Because some are a little higher and some are a little lower. But I would definitely say that Mei is either tier 2 or tier 1, but not anything too crazy. Now, as a sub DPS, Megumi works very well. Same with Nanami. Both of these guys work well as sub DPSs, and you'd be surprised that Mahito is still going strong. Now, one thing to consider is that Mahito was nerfed, right? He only does 6% total HP instead of 15 now, but it's still enough to be counted as a sub DPS, because when you really consider it 6%, what, 50 mil, that's still a couple millions you're taking off, right, minimum. So he's still able to do good stuff. Then total damage wise is still not bad. And Maki, I mean, I might even remove her honestly, but they wanted her there, so we're gonna have to keep her there, I guess. So that basically makes up the tier list for DPS. Now let's go into the support. So for support, there's so many tier zeros, and why that is because Domain Gojo isn't like completely gapping now, especially as a support. He's pretty good. He is pretty good. Sorry, very good as the #1 unit, but you know, he's not gapping. The main reason why he was gapping before is because he could be used off color, but now past floor 70, he can't, right? All of these units are really good. As a quick recap, like he's able to do damage while also giving very good debuffs and also a buff, so he's not going to be fully nerfed no matter the stage. Momo, in terms of consistency, is insane, right? Able to keep those damage increases up all the time. Ghetto does good damage while having 160% stat debuffs, really good. Degumi does his damage, also lowers the enemy's damage, which cannot be nerfed, right? It cannot be nerfed. Gives a 345% damage increase up to the max, right? And is overall really good with the attack immunity. Same with Ghetto, very good for support. Also doing damage lower, so that's huge. And obviously Gojo, I don't even need to talk about. Shoko, I think, is right behind Gojo. So it goes, I would say Domain Gojo, then Teen Shoko, okay? Teen Shoko heals and just damage support is all like really good. Like really, really good. So, you know, you really cannot go wrong with her. The most consistent support by far. Yellow Shoko is very good, but can be very squishy, but still very good. Healing is stellar. And then Inumaki is still great, right? Very close in power to Blue Ghetto, however, less consistent in terms of CE. And then Yaga is the stat buffer still. So of course he's going to be in tier 0. Then we go down here. So tier 1, I'd say, is pretty solid, right? So Nanami works very well, surprisingly, in floor 80. Right now he's a necessity, which is funny. Gaku could even maybe be moved up to tier 0, but right now I'm happy with him in tier 1. He still does, like, Megumi does good support, gives good debuffs, so it's honestly very nice. Mai is very good, works very well in red floors, but is not on the level of Domain Gojo, which is why I believe she's tier 1. And Inumaki can give the alt gauge increases, which is why he's there. So still very good. And Kaido gives damage reduction for both buff and debuff. So no matter what, you're going to have a buff or debuff working because either your buff or debuff is nerfed, but the other one isn't. So he's going to work no matter the floor. And then Momo is pretty consistent, can work on floor 67. And Panda actually works, I think it was 74 that he works on. Pretty good, honestly, pretty good, which is funny. Then we get into specialists. So basically, this is just a bunch of different things that are kind of outside any one category into one. So you got Miwa as a tank, Saki as a tank and DPS, Kaido as a damage reducer, and Inumaki as a damage reducer and alt gauge increase. So Kaido is pretty much a necessity in Jujutsu floors, especially from 70 onwards. You're taking it's just insane. It is just insane, right? The amount that you're able to really just reduce damage wise is insane. Saki does really good damage. Remember, specialist does include damage, right? Really good damage while also and it's not going to always affect it too much, but it's going to be kind of case by case basis that we kind of decided on. Really good is going to sometimes take 0 damage for literally 5-10 turns, right? And then Miwa literally sometimes is going to literally if I didn't say literally enough, just counter for 40 turns in a row and make the team take 0 damage. Now for tier 1, all of these guys are stellar besides maybe Shoko and Maki. Why is Maki here? You know, there's some units that I kind of look at and, you know, overall, I did review it, but when it's on my phone, guys, it's still pretty big, right? There's a lot of units. I'm not going to agree with Maki being there, but maybe I'll have to ask why. Everyone else makes sense besides Shoko. These two are the only ones. Why Inumaki? He could save people. He gives himself heal, so he's able to tank. He's there as a kind of like, kind of just meat shield and does okay-ish damage. Junpei, very good for damage lowering and could taunt with a attack immunity in the same skill while giving damage reduction. Huge. Then Mekamaru counters while doing very good damage and break. Geto and Inumaki, they both have some type of damage lower, but I'd say Inumaki would have to go, but Geto definitely has his damage lower, which is huge. Kaido gives cursed energy. He could be tier 0 for sweep, but tier 1 overall. Then tier 2, he gives a res. Right, Yuji does the res, Miwa does the taunt. He has his like confusion status, which is decent in some floors, more so for the earlier floors, but he's only in tier 2 because of the earlier floors. And then Hanami, good for damage lower. And that makes up the whole tier list. So some units that are lower were taken out. But I think if they do end up on the wiki, then we'll see that, probably the lower tiers. However, yes, we did decide to move to the Pride Win tiering because I was able to convince them. But yeah, no, overall, I'm pretty happy with the tier list. I'd say it is quite accurate, but there are some things that could improve over time, almost guaranteed, right? And I don't really need to go too slow on these because obviously we've already talked about it so much that at this point, like I could make a tier list in fucking 12 minutes. That's insane. So I'm very happy with this tier list. I might do a more in-depth one once it's on the actual wiki, but for now, I'm good with this. So this is the June 2025 tier list. Thank you for watching the video. Let me know what you think of it. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.